Welcome. Can everybody hear me? Sounds good? Excellent. My name is Kyle Samajima, and I use she, her pronouns. And I am the Outreach and Engagement Manager at Cooperative Energy Futures as of March 18th this year, so fresh in the role and super excited to be here. I bring years of experience, collaboration, and partnership in environmental, racial, and energy justice. And at CEF, I get to put my values into action, engaging with community to fundamentally shift our energy system that is, at this point, extractive, greedy, and often unfair, to one that is clean, local, and ours. And it is my honor to do that work. We all come, if you can go to the first slide, Sachi. Surprised her with that. And then go to the next slide. So we all come with our personal and collective values to this cooperative. The deeper reasons that drive us are the ones that keep us steady and committed in the face of climate grief and huge systemic barriers that we are determined to shift. Here's one of my motivators, my granddaughter Noemi, teaching her to be a tree hugger. I encourage you all to focus on our personal and collective values today as we go through the next few hours together.
Hi everyone, my name is Sebastian Rivera. I'm actually the newest member of CEF staff. Yeah, I just started about a month and a half ago. So before we start, I would like to thank the Eden Prairie staff. Well, let's start with the city staff first, because thanks to them, we were able to have a solar array on top of the roof of this building. And then I would like to thank the staff at the community center here. Thanks to them, we were able to have this space and a few hours together. Now, lastly, I would like to thank all of you, because without members, we wouldn't be here. This is really important for us. We, as CF, we've been exponentially growing in massive ways in the past few months or few years. Yeah. And we'll be sharing all of the details about that in the upcoming hours. But it's really important for us to have time with you guys like this, so that we can get to know each other and you can get to see all of us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Rukia Abdi. I am a longtime Eden Prairie resident. I'm also working for CEF as an outreach engagement representative for the Affordable Solar Project. So I'm super excited that this project is finally kicking off, and a lot of residents in Eden Prairie get to be a part of it. Give it to Kyle to go through the agenda.
So just quickly, as you can see up here, we just did our welcome. We'll have a fun, quick group activity that Sebastian will lead. You'll meet all of our staff and hear some organizational reports. We'll have member engagement Q&A, comments and proposals. There are some scrap pieces of paper on your table. If you have a comment that you don't feel like saying out loud or think of when we're not at that point, please put them in this box, and that Audrey, one of our staff members, is holding. Then we'll have CEF board elections and member voting, and then the tour of the community solar garden on the roof. Please, when the food gets here, it was supposed to be ready long ago, but our Allie, our communications director, is on her way with it when it's here. Please help yourself at any time. We're not having a set time to eat, so please help yourself. Please don't throw any of the silverware that's back there away. It's reusable, and so just put it all in the bin back there. And with that, I will hand it off to Sebastian to do our group activity.
Okay, so I guess for the folks online, in order for you to participate, you're going to turn off your screen and turn it on. And for the folks in the room, you can either stand up or raise your hand. So we're just gonna go through a set of questions, and we would like to see what are your answers. I'm here today because I want to build a cooperative movement. Or raise your hand. There you go. I live in the Twin Cities. How many of you are living in the Twin Cities? I live in Greater Minnesota. I believe local communities can play a central role in creating local renewable energy projects that benefit the community, that benefit all. I would like to learn how to talk about energy democracy. I understand how clean energy can save cost on my energy bill while also benefiting our planet. I have felt grief about climate change. Grief. Have you felt grief about climate change before? Yeah. I have taken time to imagine what a better and more vibrant future could look like for our communities. Wonderful. And if you haven't taken that time, right now is today's the day. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sebastian, and thank you all for coming. My name is Timothy Denner Thomas. I'm General Manager at Cooperative Energy Futures. Again, I want to thank you all for coming. It's super exciting. We've been doing these in a variety of formats the last couple of years, and it's really cool to see everyone again. I want to take a moment just to look back. We didn't ask how long all of you have been involved in the co-op, but I want to take a look back 10 years. 2014, community solar was just a glimmer in some of our eyes. It didn't even exist in the state of Minnesota in any real scaled way. A lot of what we're doing today, we were just starting to imagine and dream. We were all volunteer. We really didn't have an organization in the way we do today. 5 years back, our very first community solar garden, Shiloh, was about 11 months old in terms of operating. Our second on the roof of the Edina community, the Edina Public Works building, was about 6 months old. Most of the solar gardens that people are subscribed to today hadn't been built, and the ones that we're developing right now hadn't been imagined. All of the other work we're doing right now, which I'll talk about in a little bit, wasn't even on the table. We've come a long way, and CEF is in a point right now where we're growing very, very quickly. Charlie will talk a little bit about some of the ways that we have grown in just a bit. I think what's really most important in all of this is how we've done this. And the question I want to raise there is, what does it mean to be building our energy future the cooperative way? And I want to tell you, I've seen firsthand a lot in the last few years what the alternative is. What is the standard in renewable energy development in our country right now? We've seen a flood in the past several years of centralization of the clean energy industry. Larger and larger companies, larger and larger projects. I've seen so many people who got into this business because of their values, because of what they stand for, because of the impact we want to make for their communities, leave, because it's really not that kind of industry on the whole anymore. I've seen projects where little of the benefits are actually going to users, where it's kind of industry standard all across the country for, regardless of what the compensation rates are for renewable energy, people at the end of the day who are subscribing are getting 10% discount, and developers tend to be pocketing the profits. And I've seen a pattern here where the normal development of renewable energy in this country is a large developer comes in, they build a project, and they flip it. And they flip it to some investor that's going to own it long run. And in that process, the norm that I've seen is developers who their interest in that is to essentially inflate the assumptions about how much revenue there's going to be and underestimate the costs, which essentially creates as high a valuation for that project as possible when it's sold to an investor. And the investor often is a large company, often hundreds or even thousands of miles away from where the projects are located, that doesn't really have any on the ground connection to what's happening. And they hire another company to do the operations and maintenance. Could spend hours talking about the problems in that sector. They spend entirely another company to manage subscribers and customers. And I can't tell you how many dozens, even hundreds of calls we've received from people who are like, I don't understand how my community solar subscription with some other company works, and I can't get anybody on the phone. What does it look like as a cooperative to do things differently? First and foremost, being a co-op is about a different story about who owns our clean energy future. Co-ops fundamentally are about changing our norms around ownership in our economy. It's not just or primarily the people who have the upfront cash to put into a business that should own and govern it. It's the people who sustain that business every single day, which is all of you. And my time is short, but I want to spend just one more moment on this point because I think it's so fundamental in terms of how we think about the future of our economy. Why is it in our economy right now that it is understood that the people who have the cash on the front end to pay for a piece of infrastructure get all of the benefits and all of the rights, even when at the end of the day, every single one of our bills, every single one of our expenses, the fact that we have profits in the first place is because people like you are saying, yes, I want to get my energy from this source. Being a co-op is fundamentally about saying, look, you're putting your money on the line. You have a say. You're putting your money on the line. You get a share of the profits. We're small, we're growing. We're just at this emerging stage right now where we can start to deliver on that vision and show the world what it looks like. But people all around the country are looking to us. Don't have time to talk about it, but there's work. I mean, Sachi over here has been doing all this great work supporting other co-ops in Illinois. There's a whole network emerging of folks around the country who are looking to build the types of models that we're doing because we're able to demonstrate the deeper savings that we're generating for our members. We're able to demonstrate 5, 6, 10 years down the line as we start generating real profits from these projects, those additional dividends going back to our member communities. We're able to demonstrate what it looks like when an energy developer really cares about workforce development and racial equity in the solar industry in our communities. We're able to show what all that looks like. And what we've seen around the country is you have more and more of these big absentee developers developing projects, so you get political pushback. Okay? More and more conversation. Is this really what we want to be doing? And it leaves the industry very exposed to the types of attacks that we've been facing, and that we'll talk a little bit more about later in the agenda. And Puya will talk a lot about what's going on right now in our state's policy environment. I also really want to highlight that while we've been very focused on community solar, being a co-op is not just about developing projects. It's about laying a foundation for how together we can create, live in, and build a very different type of energy system. This is why CEF is starting to innovate around what does rooftop solar look like for renters and low-income households? What does it look like to develop a whole new program that's going to help folks all across our metro area invest in efficiency, invest in electrification, and do it just the same way that we do all of our other cooperative projects where we organize the investment and the finance collectively so everyone doesn't have to figure it out themselves, and it can benefit everyone. There's all sorts of stuff on the horizon I'd love to tell you about. We're digging in on ground source district heating, exploring virtual power plants, all this stuff I'd love to spend hours talking about. But what I really want to emphasize here is this is about changing the nature of our relationship to energy. And one of the fundamental things that we're trying to figure out right now and build towards is essentially what does it look like for CEF to be the primary holder of the relationship around how we get our energy, right? We're starting with community solar. We're starting with some of these other rooftop solar options. But what does it look like if at the end of the day, when you get a bill for all of your energy services, we're able to say, we're going to work with you in partnership to look at that whole set of costs, look at how that affects your life and what you want to do in your life and in your home, and say, how can we do this better together? We're working right now on a software partnership that will essentially allow us to integrate bills. And that's really, really important for a lot of our members who are low income, who like the biggest issue right now is when I'm partnering with CEF, yeah, my overall costs are lower, but I get an Excel bill and I get a CEF bill, and it's super confusing. We've heard that from members year after year after year, and that's one of the big things that we're focused on resolving over the next year. I'm going to pass this off. The final thing I wanted to say is this has been a wild ride, building this organization and getting to this point. It's going to keep getting wilder. It would not be possible without the dedication and support of so many people across Minnesota and all of you. And that participation, that showing up as loyal subscribers and people participating in our projects, showing up as members to say, this is how our co-op should be guided and steered. That's absolutely central to who we are. And thank you for coming and being a part of that. Thank you.
Hey everyone, quick question that we forgot to ask at the beginning of all this. Is everybody, well, how about this? Is anyone not okay with being recorded or having pictures taken of them? Okay, great. A little late on asking, but thank you.
Let any of us know if you have concerns, and we can make sure to exclude those photos.
All right, thanks everyone. My name is Puya Najmai. I am the Policy and Regulatory Director here at Cooperative Energy Futures. Let's go to the next slide here and talk a little bit about the regulatory work first. So my work is, a lot split up into two main categories, I'd say, and that was the legislature and then the Public Utilities Commission and other types of regulatory work. So we're going to go over the regulatory work very quickly here. This is kind of the more technical stuff that, I'm not going to delve too much into the details, but two main things I've been spending most of my time at the Public Utilities Commission on this year, and that has been standing up the new community solar program, which we passed legislation last session to improve the community solar program. So all these new gardens we're building now are going to be under the new program, which is more equitable. The rates are higher. It's just a better overall program. So that's been a lot of it. That has been kind of a headache. The utility, Xcel Energy, has been sort of delaying things, trying to put wrenches in the gears and so forth. But it is moving, and we hope that we'll be moving even faster here very soon. Then the next thing is the ARR to VOS stuff. I'm not going to go into this right now because ARR, by the way, is applicable retail rate, and VOS is value of solar. I'm not going to go into this right now because Timothy is going to go into this in much more detail in a couple minutes. So let's just go to the next slide then. All right, so the bills that CEF helped pass in 2024. So that was this year's legislative session. It was a crazy one. I don't know if any of you all listen to the news much or anything, but a lot of drama during the session. The big thing for us here, and the thing I was probably the most involved in, is the interconnection bill. So we passed this bill that improves the system for interconnecting solar systems. So right now, as it is, I don't know if any of you know, but the grid is congested, especially in the like this area in the ring around the Twin Cities right now. And so congested that even residential customers, small systems in many places are having trouble connecting. And so we are trying to develop a new system for upgrades. Right now, how upgrades work, if you want to upgrade a substation or a feeder or anything like that, you have to, whoever triggers that upgrade has to pay for it, and they're paying for a bunch of people behind them. It's a really inefficient system. Nobody wants to go ahead and pay a bunch of money, an inordinate amount of money for their system to then benefit everybody's system in the back of that. So that's just caused this lack of incentive, this malincentive for upgrading the system. And what we're trying to do here with this new bill, which we did, I believe, but you know, the devil's in the details, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But basically, it's a cost share program so that you only pay a certain amount, it's capped, and then there's like an escrow account or some sort of an account in which the money that people come in later on and upgrade with will go into that and pay back ratepayers and or the utility at that point. And that the main thing with this, though, is that this is being pushed, well, the details to it, because there's a lot of details involved, are being pushed to the PUC. This, I'm guessing, starting late this summer and then all through the fall. So I'll be heavily involved in making sure the details are beneficial as well. Oh, the PUC, sorry, the Public Utilities Commission. These are the people who, you know, the 5 commissioners that decide a lot of our regulatory system in Minnesota for utilities, whether it be electric, gas, or telecom. And then the other big thing with this new bill is we created an ombudsperson position. And that ombudsperson position is basically like a dispute regulator or a decider of disputes that have to do with interconnection. We don't have a good system for doing that right now. And then the other thing is Solar App. This is an application, Solar App Plus, I think it's called. It's an application that basically streamlines permitting on a local level. So right now there are cities and towns all over the US that use this for that. And we're hoping to have that in Minnesota. And this provides funding for those counties, cities, communities to adopt this. The last one is solar rewards. This is like an incentive that is being paid for rooftop solar for people who put rooftop solar onto their, so not community solar, but of course we're getting into rooftop solar here too. And that got secured for 10 years, $50 million. Next slide. And then the last thing I just want to say is we are working with a whole bunch of groups to do this. Like none of us can do this alone. We've created a really good network of allies at the Capitol that we are working with. I'll just name a couple. Clear Energy Coalition is one we've created in the last couple of years. Includes all these groups you see on here. They're very much focused on equity within renewable energy in general. The Rise and Repair Coalition, an even larger group of 25 groups that are, you know, indigenous and environmental justice and these types of groups that we're also working on, not just solar stuff, but stuff across the board, environmental type stuff across the board. riseandrepair.org is that. And lastly, I work a lot with the Minnesota Solar Energy Industry Association and the Coalition for Community Solar Access and a bunch of other developers. And this is crucial because this is how you generally get things passed at the legislature is through coalitions. So you should know that your co-op is working well with others.
Thank you, Puya. Nice to meet most of you. My name's Charlie Ryback. I'm our Chief Operating Officer. This is my first one of these. Anybody else in the room? First one? That's great. Amazing. I'm very, very glad to see how this all works along with all of you. So I joined back in September as our COO, helping Timothy and the rest of the team really manage, you know, how can we do things more efficiently, more effectively, and how can we grow? The thing you're going to hear a bunch of times from me and everybody else today is we are very much in growth mode right now. As I said, I started in September, and at this point, half of our staff has now joined since I joined. So if that tells you, yes, we are in growth mode. I also want to take a second to invite everybody. We don't have a time specifically carved out for lunch. It's sort of just go and take it as you go. I know it's hard to get up in the middle of somebody's talking, so please get up in the middle of when I'm talking. Go get your body. Please, somebody's got to start us off. So there we go. Great. Beverages are in the cooler, everybody. And there's a water fountain outside. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our team as we go through this here. CEF is in growth mode. I may have jumped the gun on announcing this before we were on the slide, but it's good to get the message over and over and over again. Our total assets at this point are up to $6.7 million. At the last one of these meetings, that number was $4 million smaller. So that's, at the end of 2022. End of 2024, this number represents the end of 2023, when I just announced it's the end of 2022. So in a year, that's how much our assets have grown. Along with that, our liabilities are up $5 million. Most of those are loans for construction and in part for operations. So as you can see, once again, we're in growth mode. I'll try to stop saying it, but it's hard not to. Our expenses are up above $1 million. Most of that, supporting some of the lovely staff that you're about to hear about today. And then, our income and our profit are also up. As you see also, our expenses right now are higher than our income and our profit. That is a reflection of the fact that we are growing and we're trying to make big investments right now that are going to pay off for all of us down the road. And that, together, we've gotten to this place. It's a really, really exciting place to be. And, we think that some of these investments that we're making right now are going to allow us to keep growing and to really do some wonderful things together in the next couple of years. So thank you to all of you for helping to make that happen. And I think the team here that we have at this point is really exciting. If you want to go to the next slide. As I said, at the last meeting, we had 8 team members. Today we have 16. Wow. I'm just going to take you through really quickly some of the new folks on the team. Nothing personal to the folks that were already here before. They're lovely. They've been here. They've built all this, but just want to tell you about some of the new folks. So Dana Gustafson, just raise your hand when you, yeah. Dana joined to run our affordable solar program. How you doing? That is good. How we doing the runner communications? Audrey Paulmeyer. Audrey runs our Sustainable Homes program. If you have not heard about our Sustainable Homes program, that's okay because it's brand new. At the next one of these meetings, there are going to be a whole bunch of very fun announcements about our Sustainable Homes program. Audrey's helping to build out that program right now and is really spearheading a lot of that work, and it's very, very exciting stuff. We have 3 new members of our outreach team. Kyle Samajimu, who you've already met, to run the team. And then 2 new outreach representatives, Rukia Abdi and Sebastian Rivera, if you'll both raise your hands. As has been mentioned, Sachi Graber, who's previously our board chair, is now doing partnerships for us nationally. It's very exciting. And Chris Block has joined Bruce in doing our site acquisition work. That is the full team for now. And go to the next slide. Here are just a couple quick things about our garden operations. I know a lot of people want to hear about some of the changes that the PUC is trying to push through at the moment. Timothy will get into those next. One big one that I'll just call out here. Last year alone, we generated collectively more than $1 million in bill credits from our gardens. $1 million. Think about what that means. Think about what that means to all of us. Think about what that means to all the people that can't be in the room today. That's a remarkable number, and it's one that everybody in this room should be proud of because you made it happen. Thank you.
We just want to introduce one of our partners very quickly, Lev Buslevich from Apadana Solar.
Hi, good morning. So we're the company that built the solar system here. So I'm just gonna read a couple of things here quickly. We've been in business for about 12 years with a focus on solar, EV charging, battery storage, lighting, and other engineered electrical solutions. We are an EPC that stands for Engineering, Procurement, Construction, and engineers on staff. We buy direct from manufacturers and we install turnkey projects like this. We're honored to be a CEF partner. We've engineered 6 different CEF projects so far over the last 6-7 years, equaling 6 megawatts of production, including this, obviously, Eden Prairie Solar Garden. We're also excited to continue the partnership. We're building the Alina Hospital parking garage downtown and the Lake Elmo community solar garden. The most complicated one, by the way, we've done is the one that's ramp A downtown next to Target Field. That was very complicated because it's a 7-story parking ramp with a carport, an engineered carport, a lot of structural work that went into it, and figuring out also how the water doesn't slide off into the highway or the snow, but actually through these internal channels. So a lot of engineering work, but that's what we're good at. We work closely with Dan Grantier. He's obviously not here today, and other project managers, but kudos out to him. One main reason, as been mentioned by a lot of people here, for our relationship is so strong is because CEF's values align well with Apadanis. To give you an example, we help provide energy independence to our customers always. That independence is even sweeter when it brings value to those who may be disadvantaged and need it most. Improving the environment for future generation is the most important outcome of what we do. So we hope to continue and work shoulder with CEF in the future and build on the excellent foundation that we have been to. If anybody's got any questions, I think there's going to be a question and answer session. I can answer any of the technical questions or
And also during the tour up on the roof.
the tour. Okay.
Could you speak like?
I think some people in the back are.
Great.
Does anybody want to sit here?
Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay. I am back up here to talk about what has happened with our past and currently operating community solar gardens and the Public Utilities Commission process around what Puyo was mentioning, the applicable retail rate. This is a big issue for our members, and we want to make sure that our members really understand it. It also has a potential to be pretty confusing. So I'm going to do my best to make this quick and clear. The first question I'm going to ask is, please raise your hand if you are a subscriber to a project that is already operating, meaning you're getting bill credits on your bill. Please raise your hand. So this would be Shiloh, Edina, Clarks Grove, Pax Christi, Haven, Ramp A, Waseca, Faribault. Okay, if you just raised your hand, this conversation really applies to you very directly. If you didn't raise your hand, or you're a subscriber to the Eden Prairie project or the Clare City or one of those other projects, this doesn't directly affect you, but we want you to know about it because it affects the co-op as a whole.
Yeah.
So what is this issue? Those initial 8 community solar gardens that we developed between 2018 and 2020 that are currently operating were developed under a policy that's called the applicable retail rate, or ARR. And that basically means that subscribers in those projects are paid for the energy that they receive from their part of the solar array at the retail rate, meaning the rate you pay on your bill, plus an incentive. That compensation rate was not specified in state law, but it was approved by the Public Utilities Commission and reflected in contracts that Xcel signed with us for a 25-year period. Okay. All good so far. So in late 2023, the Public Utilities Commission came along and asked Xcel to come up with a proposal to shift the compensation for those projects to the value of solar. The value of solar is a different formula for how that compensation works. It's lower, and it's the same for commercial and residential, which is a big deal because commercial customers pay a lot less on their utility bills. That would dramatically reduce the compensation for residential subscribers in these past gardens. Again, only applies to the past gardens, but a big deal. There was a lot of rounds of Xcel's proposing things, public comments. CEF and its members, including several of you in the room, participated heavily in opposing this decision and issue. And finally, at the end of the day, the Public Utilities Commission approved a modified shift to the value of solar, which includes a 3-cent adder for residential and small business customers. This is a lot less bad than what they proposed, but it's still not great. Okay. Again, really want to emphasize this only impacts the past projects, and it has no effect on the compensation rates for the new projects, including Eden Prairie, Clara City, and other projects we're developing right now. Those future projects also have a compensation rate that is much more clearly defined in state law. So while we can never predict with 100% certainty what Excel or the PUC will do, we think there's much stronger protection on the projects. Loud. I somehow turned the mic off. Apologies. Okay, what happens next? The Public Utilities Commission just released its formal order, came out on May 30th.
The battery.
The mic turns off by itself. Does this work? Oh, this will not work for the folks online or the recording, so I should try this. Okay, is that better? Thank you, Sachi. I'm just going to do this. Okay, so the Public Utilities Commission just released its order. That does not mean this decision is final. Cooperative Energy Futures is now joining many other parties in filing what's called a motion for reconsideration, which we expect to be rejected, and then are expecting to essentially participate in a lawsuit that will challenge this decision as essentially violating documents that we've signed that said this rate applied for 25 years. Legal counsel we've talked to believes we have a fairly good case because there's a lot of reasons why this decision didn't make sense and didn't take into account lots of the evidence that was provided. Our goal will be also to secure a stay on that decision so that it doesn't take effect until that whole process is done. I want to emphasize that even if we don't get any of those things, this decision is not in effect until April 1st of 2025. So we have quite a bit of time to figure all this out and push back and figure out what we're going to do about it. I want to be really clear that CEF is actively exploring every single avenue we can to prevent this from happening. And we're going to fight this decision to the end. This is not just bad for our members, it's also bad for Minnesota's energy policy and the future of clean energy in the state. We really appreciate the help. We've gotten over 100 members to participate in this issue in some way, shape, or form. Thank you all for showing up. It's really important that as we have future opportunities, please keep participating and pushing back on this decision. Want to quickly address, if this takes effect April 1st of next year, how will it affect our subscribers on those 8 projects that are already operating? We've conducted an analysis and we're happy to say that in large part because of that 3-cent adder, we can ensure that for residential and small business customers, subscribers will still save money over the 25-year life of the subscription. But we'll save a lot less than we originally expected. So there is a good side, which is that this is still a better financial deal than not having done anything. But a huge amount of the benefits that we are expecting subscribers to receive won't show up. That's a big deal. We really want to highlight this is not changing anything about what we're asking subscribers to pay us as a co-op. We're essentially saying we are just going to be charging exactly the same thing we always projected because we need that in order to pay off and finance and operate the projects that we've already built, which, you know, that already happened 5 years ago. Instead, essentially what this means is that the credit on your bill will go down. So the credit will cover less of your Excel bill. You can kind of think of this as Excel trying to earn more money back from you than what they originally agreed would be the deal. Really want to emphasize that if you're a subscriber in one of these past projects, keep in mind that those additional costs, you would have been paying them if you never signed up for community solar. We understand this is a big shift and it's probably pretty scary. We want to highlight that for members who are in one of these gardens, we're going to be spending a lot more time working with members to really understand how this works. We're going to be doing a deep dive in October of this year for members who are in those original 8 gardens to walk through all the details, get all the questions answered, really like play with where all of this is going. And want to highlight that we should know a lot more about how the process will work by the time we get there. Again, the order just came out 10 days ago or something like that. October is also well before that April 1st date where anything will take effect. So members will have plenty of time to figure out what you need to do in consultation with us there. I know this is a big deal. It's something that we've been wrestling with quite a lot over the past several months, and we're going to keep you informed as soon as we have information. This is one of those things where there's a lot to figure out, and also the key decisions are happening very slowly. So we don't have a lot more at this point, but we wanted to make sure all members were up to date, and we'll keep you informed. And again, make sure that you all know about that deep dive we're doing in October. Thank you. I'm going to pass it back to Karen.
Hi, it's me again, Kyle, Outreach and Engagement Manager. I'm just going to do a quick hooray for this awesome team that we now have at Cooperative Energy Futures. We are hitting the ground running based on so much land. That's not what I wanted to say. Based on so much groundwork that Bryn laid with the CEF team before we all arrived. We are so excited to really build on the partnerships and collaborations that we all bring to the table with the Spanish-speaking community, Native American community, Somali community, and people from all over Minnesota in communities, you know, in the Twin Cities and out to the edge. And we're active. We just have so many partner organizations because that's the only way this work gets done, in collaboration and in partnership. So if you have partnership ideas, please reach out to me. And I'm going to hand it off for a quick run through of our programs that we work on.
Hello, hey everybody. I'm Bryn. It's very nice to meet some of you. I was talking to somebody earlier and I've seen a lot of your names on spreadsheets, but I haven't actually met you. So it's really great to meet you. Yeah, I've been on the CEF team since 2022, I believe. Yep, so 2 years. I've been a member since 2020. I'm kind of, yeah, I've been in the same boat as some of you. I'm not a subscriber as well, but I'm subscribing to these projects that's coming up. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, like Kyle said, we've been laying a lot of the groundwork. I'm really excited for this project at Eden Prairie to turn on, for Clare City to turn on. I've been working on this for 2 years, basically. We are working on, so it's not just, that's the picture of the Eden Prairie project, but we're working on one in Western Minnesota, one in Lake Elmo, one in Mankato, and one in Midtown. So those are the kind of 5 projects I'm working on. Puya mentioned it briefly. The state of Minnesota has passed a new community solar law, which is really exciting. We had to apply for that new program. What's really exciting about it, 2 biggest things in terms of an outreach perspective, is we get to serve more people. Fundamentally, we get to serve more people because 1, we get to build bigger projects. So, I mean, we have to be able to build them and there's grid congestion and all these issues, but the state law allows us to build bigger projects. More solar panels means more subscribers serving our members better. I really want all of our members to be benefiting from the co-op and subscribing to our project so they can benefit economically from it. And then 2 is maybe some of you know from those ARR projects, some of the newer folks might not, but previous state law had this contiguous county rule. It meant that a subscriber could only live in the county that a project lived in. Obviously, that's a big headache in terms of outreach and like where we can find subscribers. That is completely gone. So we can subscribe anyone anywhere in the state as long as they're an XL customer. So that's really exciting. We've been talking as an outreach team how we want to do that. We still want to, you know, emphasize local. We don't want some rural project that's just subscribed by everybody in the metro, but it allows us to serve everybody better. And then final kind of update there, and Timothy mentioned it earlier, is Arcadia is this company that we're working with about integrating a 1 bill solution. I have had many conversations with people about the 2 bill kind of issue and things like that. So I'm extremely excited about this and this rollout because it will allow people to have a better customer user experience with community solar and really get to see those savings and participating from the program a lot easier. Next slide. Yeah, I'm gonna hand it off to Rukia here. And yeah, it's just been really great to have Sebastian, Rukia, and Kyle join the outreach team. These projects take a lot of outreach, a lot of time, a lot of conversations. It's complicated, right? There's lots of documents to sign. I know some of you have signed a lot of documents, right? It's a process. So, I mean, what I tell people is one of these projects is maybe 130 subscribers, 140 subscribers. Multiply that by 5, right? It's a lot of hours. So it's been really great having these other members of the team to support and grow and support each other. So thank you so much for being here.
I'm Kia Abdi again, and I didn't mention, sorry, I'm also recovering from a cold, so um, I didn't mention that Kyle and I both started at the same time around early March, so I'm super excited to be involved with CEF and the project. I'm fairly new to the energy world, so I'm learning so much from Bryn, from Timmy, and from everybody else in the organization. So I'm working in the affordable solar project programs. So a lot of my role really revolves around educating people in low-income housing and informing them about the benefits of solar, and also doing a lot of signups. But I just really just telling them that there isn't a lot of barriers to get solar with CEF, because there is a lot of misconceptions and misinformation about getting solar, especially if you live in low-income housing, if you live in HUD housing, or just in general can't afford to get solar. And coming from working with community action and seeing a lot of people coming in with thousands of dollars of energy bills that, you know, it was just causing a lot of stress. So this is a much more rewarding work for me to be on the other side and educating them about how they can save some money and get involved in these programs. So a lot of my role right now, I'm working with low-income housing projects that have solar on their rooftops. We have up to 10 units, 10 affordable housing properties that are saving up to 40% of their energy cost, and that's really exciting. They're really, really excited about the one income, the one billing system. I was talking to a few individuals this week actually that have been subscribers in one of the units. I want to say Creekside neighborhood. And I've been, a lot of times we get so busy with paperwork and doing a lot of events, but it's great to go back and reach out and say, hey, what have you noticed in your energy bill? Have you been saving any, have you noticed the savings? And a lot of them said yes, they're really excited about it, and they're willing to wait and be patient and wait for that one system to come through. So I'm super excited about that. Anything else we want to mention? Yeah, it's growing. We're definitely growing, and I'm praying that we are doing a lot more outreach. I think we just had our very official engagement, community engagement, as a couple of weeks ago with our local neighborhood where we're located in Minneapolis, and we will continue to do a lot more engagement and going out there and doing a lot of education for our community members as well.
Hi everyone, Sebastian again. I'm going to talk about member engagement. So member engagement is something that's very valuable to CEF, but something kind of new to us for us to start working on. So we've been exploring many avenues on how to correctly engage with you guys and trying to figure out what do you guys need from us. Not just in terms of support, but also in terms of engagement and wanting to like bring you into our conversations, into our process.
Hold the mic closer.
Sorry, I move my hands a lot. Yeah. But in that, we have been partnering up with, well, national and local partners like Community Power that they're here. And in that collaboration, we've been really like looking into different strategies, trying to implement new things and figuring out what's working. In addition to that, we've just been trying to innovate new tactics so that we can involve you guys as much as possible throughout the co-op process. Something that I want to be very clear on is that we don't want to just save you money. We want to actually create power for you. In addition to that, we want to invest in what you're looking into, what you're interested in, and build power, not just for now, but in your future too. Therefore, we've been trying to explore as much as possible and trying to figure out how to engage best with you guys. It'd be quite great, in my opinion, if you guys also call us or email us as much as possible whenever you have anything, any question that comes up. That we have a team now, so we're actually here for you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add that, you know, we have 1,000+ members. It's growing every single day. I'm having people sign membership agreements all the time. And yeah, just like Sebastian said, we really want to hear from you about what kind of member events you want to have. I'm wearing this t-shirt from a member event that we did in Faribault. Stand Up Toya designed this shirt, and it was like, we have sheep grazing at our Faribault project. So, you know, this was like our kind of trial run of what a member event could look like. But there's lots of different ideas, right? We want members to get to know each other. We want members to engage and kind of build that power together. So tell us, you know, the joke we make is you're our bosses, right? We want to hear from you. What do you want? We'll plan it. We'll figure it out. So thank you so much for being here.
Hello. Okay. I'm only going to be up here for a few minutes, but this is excellent technology. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. I'm Dana. I am the Affordable Solar Program Manager. I'm sure most of you have not seen me before, but I've been at CEF for about 8 months. My role is in development and project management for our residential solar program, which you've heard Rukia and Timothy mention. It's our offering for income qualified homeowners and renters to get solar directly on their roof, and that solar can directly power their unit or home. I'm going to next slide. Yeah, so some of the history on the program. It started in 2022 after a lot of effort in advocacy with Excel. And since then, we got 5 projects online, so about 207 kilowatts, all with Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. They are an affordable housing provider, and all of our subscribers in those buildings are renters. In the first 2 years, it was really only available to renters, but since the beginning of this year, it's expanded to income qualified homeowners. That's community land trust homeowners, Habitat for Humanity, homeowners who qualify for LIHEAP and other public assistance programs. And we're, with that and some of the other expansions and funding that have occurred through Excel starting this year, we've been able to really take advantage of all the opportunities to grow this program. And we have about 400 kilowatts that are rolling through between early and late stage for this year, and continuing to look for more, so up to 700 and beyond in 2024. Yeah, we also have, oh, I don't know if I should do a little more explanation of how it actually works. So for those renters and homeowners who are qualified, it's no money to get it built. We install it, and once it's operating, they are paying a discounted rate for that energy. It's 40% savings, and it's sized to offset 100% of their usage. So excellent savings and just an excellent program. And thanks to Puya and his efforts in regulatory advocacy, we actually have funding secured for the next 10 years. So a lot of opportunity for growth, not just in this year, but for the long run. And yeah, and I also think in the future, there's going to be a lot of crossover and opportunities for this program to interact with other energy services, like storage and energy efficiency, which we're already working on, and maybe Audrey can talk more about. Right before, oh, sorry, next slide. I apologize. These are some of the partners we're currently working with. Housing providers like Beacon, Project for Pride and Living, City of Lakes Community Land Trust, CAP RW, and Minnesota Renewable Now, nonprofit working in the north side of Minneapolis, helping build connections with folks, homeowners there. So yeah, with that, I'll hand it over to Audrey.
All right. Hi, everybody. Sorry. Okay, so I know you've been sitting for a long time. I promise we're almost done with this section of the event, but Timothy mentioned that 10 years ago, community solar gardens were a glimmer in some of our eyes. So now I'm going to tell you about a new glimmer that's in my eye and hopefully will be in your eyes soon too when I tell you what it is. So I'm Audrey Paulmeyer, Sustainable Homes Program Developer at Cooperative Energy Futures. I started about 4 months ago and I feel new, but we've got like 4 people who are newer than I am, so I can't really claim that anymore. All right, so slide. All right, so what's the problem that the Sustainable Homes Program is trying to fix? I'm gonna talk about this program, well, I'm gonna use some data from Minneapolis with the caveat that we know that these are issues throughout the state. And a note that our Sustainable Homes Program is going to be kicking off in St. Paul and Minneapolis early next year. So as of 2021, 23% of Minneapolis's greenhouse gas emissions come from 1 to 4 unit residential buildings. So there's a major opportunity there for us to make improvements in energy efficiency in our residential space. The vast majority of Minneapolis homes use gas for heating their hot water and their space heating. Nearly 50% use gas dryers and a quarter use gas for cooking. And actually, it's one thing that's very just disturbing to me is that 12% of childhood asthma cases in the US can be attributed to gas stove use. So gas in our homes is a health issue. It's also a greenhouse gas emissions issue. And electrifying our homes can improve air quality and reduce asthma and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And then last quick statistic, 46% of 1 to 4 unit residential buildings in Minneapolis have inadequate wall insulation. So that means our homes are drafty and they're not as efficient as they could be. So we've got a lot of issues that we could be addressing. So I hope that I've demonstrated that there are, some good reasons to electrify and weatherize our homes. But unfortunately, existing weatherization and electrification programs can be really hard to access. They're limited, they can be means tested. They oftentimes require upfront capital, which makes them out of reach for many people, and especially those who could most benefit from them. So CEF last year partnered with Community Power and the Twin Cities Energy Efficiency Cohort. Community Power is here today, so they already got a shout out, but here's another one. To apply for a Department of Energy Buildings Upgrade Prize. And we were awarded that prize last year, which gave us funding to develop a program to electrify and make weatherization improvements to homes in the Twin Cities. So yeah, we're really excited about it. So our plan, the plan that we're developing that's going to be kicking off as a program in 2025 is to provide home energy assessments, which will result in detailed proposals that outline the most cost-effective and energy-effective upgrades for a particular home. We will combine that with a coordinated capital stack. So basically, we're going to help folks access all the federal funds that they could be eligible for, the state funds, local funds, and utility incentive programs to reduce the cost of making upgrades to their homes. If in cases where there is a residual cost, that cost will be paid off via on-bill, no debt financing with net annual savings to the household. And this will be available for renters and homeowners as well in 1 to 4 unit buildings. And then again, to highlight Community Power. So in partnership with Community Power, we will have in specific neighborhoods, there will be access to community-based navigators to help folks through the process of applying for incentives, accessing the rebates, and just understanding what's going on in their home when upgrades are happening. And then lastly, there will be ongoing tracking to make sure that the energy efficiency savings that we're predicting are actually coming to fruition. So if you're like, hey, I've never heard about this before, what are you talking about? That's because, like I said, it doesn't exist yet. We'll be putting something on our website in the next couple weeks where you can get more information. So be on the lookout for that. And also we'll be happy to answer questions later today or come find me. All right, thanks. And now we're going to move into our board election. So here's Allie to introduce our next activity.
Should I just hold this? Want to put it on? Hi, everyone. I'm Allie Doyle. I'm the communications director here at CEF. As some of you know, but you all know soon, we're doing board elections right now. So if you look at your table in the middle, there's a QR code, and all the information you need to vote will be on there. You have about 5 to 10 minutes to do that. We did switch it around a little bit, so the member Q&A is going to be after to give you a little bit more time. If you have any questions, you can find one of the CEF staff members, and if you want to do a paper ballot, I have some of those. So you can just raise your hand. Okay. Awesome. So again, it'll close in about 5 to 10 minutes, and then the results of the election will be up on the website, and you'll get sent an email. Cool. That's fine. If you've already, thank you. If you've already voted, don't vote again. You're good. Okay. Yeah. 7. 7. You're raising your hand for the paper ballot, right? Perfect. Is there any more questions? Yeah. No, you just want a paper ballot? Okay. Happy voting, everyone. The last thing that I'll say is that whoever, which is most likely going to be everyone, but whoever gets the majority vote, like if there are more yeses than there are nos, you'll see when you look at it, then that person will get elected. But it'll make sense when you look at the voting situation.
Folks online, we're just going to take a couple of minutes for voting in the room, and then we'll be back for Q&A with the whole group. Hey, Karen, do you have a question? If anyone online has a question, feel free to just come off of mute and ask. I'm happy to help you from in the room here.
Could you please turn off the sound in the room so we can listen to the video of candidates?
I'm so sorry. Can you say that again?
Could you please turn off the sound in the room because it's interfering when we listen to the uh, candidates' video?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I can do that. Thanks
Thank
for letting me know.
Thank you.
Through things quickly.
Hi, everyone. Does anyone have a question to start off? Wonderful. Thank you so much.
When is the Eden Prairie gonna, on the roof here, gonna be up and running?
So I'm taking this over because Dan is out of town this weekend. The question was, when is Eden Prairie going to be up and running? The Eden Prairie Community Solar Garden was energized. That means turned on for testing purposes earlier this week. And we are scheduled to go through the final testing, which is basically where Excel checks a whole bunch of things and says you're ready to operate, June 28th. So we are expecting that subscribers will start earning bill credits. Subscribers to the Eden Prairie Community Solar Garden will start earning bill credits for the month of July. They do it on a calendar month basis. What usually happens is they post those bill credits on about the 10th of the following month. So the bill you would receive in August for July consumption. So if you're in the Eden Prairie Community Solar Garden, that's what we're expecting.
Any more questions?
I was just wondering if you could clarify a little more the rates that are happening with the existing gardens. So you said that we agreed on something that's quote good. Excel came in and proposed something bad. Modified decision was 3 cents a kilowatt hour higher. How much lower is that than what we're expecting? And how does that compare to the state law for the new gardens coming on? Is it about the same or better or worse?
Thank you for that question. It's a little complicated to answer it simply because every one of those 8 gardens has slightly different rates and schedules. But to try and keep it simple, most of the community solar gardens before this change, subscribers were getting bill credits in the 17 to 18 cent range. The proposal that Excel originally put in would have switched that compensation to about 12 cents. With the 3 cent adder, we're up to about 15 cents. That 15 cents that the old gardens would be compensated at, and again, there's variation garden by garden, but ballpark is very similar, slightly higher than the compensation for the new gardens. Now, that sounds great, but keep in mind the gardens we built 5 years ago had a whole bunch of different expenses and issues, and the industry was totally different than the industry we're working in right now. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison about how does that work for CEF or the members. But I hope that answers the question at least roughly.
So following up, and I think his question also was, what about the new gardens? What's the impact on the new gardens?
There is no impact on the new gardens.
Impact at all.
No, yeah, this decision that the PUC does not apply to any of the newer round of gardens.
So what, have you incurred any damage from hail or storms or whatever? What is the likelihood of some kind of an issue related to that?
First of all, I want to say, Sebastian, thank you for being the runner. This is great. So question about hail damage and storm damage. This does happen. All of our solar arrays are insured for hail and wind and various things. The most significant issue that we're dealing with right now is some damage that happened in May of 2022 at our Ramp A project. Thankfully, that only affected about 3% of project production. But it's been a long process of getting through all the insurance claims and, you know, all of that, as it often is.
There has been some damage.
There has been some damage, but it's, again, 3% production impact on one garden. Yeah, we have product warranties, we have insurance, and the panels themselves are also fairly durable. The way they test them for hail when they're manufacturing them is they shoot a 1-inch steel ball at the panels at 110 miles an hour. So, you know, they're meant to be durable, but you know, they can't protect against everything.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Carl Voss. I'm from the Faribault Garden. So as I understand it, going forward, anybody who's an Excel customer can be a part of the CEF program. Am I getting that right? Sort of?
I'm just going to follow the mic. Hi, Carl. Good to see you. Yes, the Community Solar Garden Program is now open really across Xcel's territory statewide. So if you're an Xcel Energy customer in Minnesota, you can be a part of Community Solar. Now, this change does not affect the old gardens. It's kind of this split that we were just talking about. So Faribault and other gardens that we've already built, you still have to be in the same or adjacent county in order to be a subscriber.
If I was a new customer, like I'm just getting signed up here in the month of June or July, do I have a choice of what garden to join the Faribault agreement or to join the new, whatever you call it, Eden Prairie agreement?
Yes, if you were a new subscriber, you'd really have a choice of what garden you're going into. Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to be really clear on, like our outreach team is like trying to work with folks in different areas to make sure that we're getting people into a really good deal. And, we're evaluating essentially how is this all going to change, because the older gardens in many ways were a better deal, and we don't know exactly how all this decision making will be going. So we're mostly at this point filling new gardens because the older gardens are mostly full. But if there is space, we have to figure out what to do about that.
Well, what's troublesome to me is the unspoken, it's kind of an unspoken thing in the negotiations with Xcel, and with the changes that they want and what the PUC has already done. They've made operating the program and joining the program much more confusing and difficult. I mean, it's almost like some kind of sabotage, commercial or energy sabotage or something, but it's really not fair treatment from the state of Minnesota.
You said it, not me.
Hi, I just was wondering if there was a difference for upfront subscribers with the impact of the AA or ARR.
Yeah, so a small number of our subscribers in our previous gardens subscribed up front, and essentially the impact there is, again, you're not paying anything, but the benefits you're getting, just like any other subscriber, are less. So for an upfront subscriber, if you're thinking about it in terms of payback time, this extends your payback time. Again, this is not in effect yet. We're still fighting it. We'll be in touch with folks, but that's one of the things we want to talk with folks about as we go into October.
You were very diplomatic to just say you said it, not me, but listen, so I'm independent here, so I just gonna speak plainly to you guys. If you, Xcel is one of the largest energy companies in the US. They're in 14 different states. If you go across the border into Wisconsin, Western Wisconsin, that's still Xcel. Western Wisconsin has very different rules. As a matter of fact, they don't allow solar gardens in Hudson or any of those other areas because the Wisconsin legislature is 3 to 5 years behind in terms of passing that legislation. So on the one hand, I want to say it is not in Xcel's interest to do any solar. Any solar is competitive to them. They want to own the solar farms, right? But they do not want to necessarily use their lines for some competitors like us, you guys, to own those things. But the Minnesota legislature has made them. So we have to congratulate our legislature for being progressive because perfect example is right across the border, still in the metro area, they're not, right? So and therefore Xcel complies with as much as they're willing to comply with. So I don't want to go, extend the conversation too much on this, but just understand there's politics involved, and then there's shareholders on Xcel's part involved. So Xcel will do as much as the Minnesota legislature will make them do. Having said that, none of the other utilities, which is the majority of the state, allow solar gardens. Maybe it's somewhere around northeast in Duluth area. Central might once in a while do it, but they don't. So we can't give Excel too much grief either, because they have done a little bit of the part, but it's difficult.
Thank you.
My question was related to a new subscriber. What if you currently have rooftop solar, but it's not a sufficient system to fully supply you? Can you still subscribe to a garden?
Short answer is yes. If you have rooftop solar, but it doesn't cover your full energy usage, you can still subscribe to a community solar garden. Longer answer is we think everything we've been able to tell says so, but well, proof is when we actually do it. We think that if you want, you'll even be able to subscribe to solar in excess of that amount. There's nothing that says that you're limited to just what you use under the new program. So that's a, yeah, originally in the old program, they wouldn't allow you to exceed. It's a little bit of a nuance, but we'll help you figure it out.
Just another, are you, with your rooftop solar program, are you saying that individual single family homes, are you involved with putting solar on them?
Do you want to? Yeah, so I did.
Yes, we are. So starting in January, you've heard us reference solar rewards through Excel. So Excel's solar rewards program is what funds our affordable solar program. And in January, it expanded the eligibility to include single family homes, which is why we're now moving into that. But it is not universal. So you have to qualify based on certain income eligibility. Yeah, so community land trust homeowners, Habitat for Humanity homeowners, folks who qualify for LIHEAP, WIC, SNAP, medical assistance, weatherization assistance, things in that realm qualify for our affordable solar program.
In the interest of time, we'll have 2 more questions and then we'll go up to the roof.
As the rates go up for electricity, how is this formula that you have here from Excel and the 3-cent compensation, how does that gonna work?
So I'm going to see if this mic works now. Sounds good. Okay. Again, we got to split apart the old program that is subject to this Public Utilities Commission decision and the new program. Under the old program, if what the PUC just decided is actually what happens in April of next year, there is a fixed escalator and it's not subject to changes in utility prices. Okay. So under the old program, if the decision actually goes through, it is not going to be adjusted based on the retail rate. It's just escalated each year based on a fixed escalator. Under the new program, it is actually based on the retail rate. So if your retail rates goes up, the compensation for community solar will go up. That is a thing we've really pushed for, and one of the things we were really trying to secure in the legislation this past time for the new program, because it helps our members when you say, I want to subscribe, it protects you from future increases in utility prices, because we have seen pretty consistently that the utilities like to raise their prices. And we've also been pushing the regulators to prevent that, but we only get so far.
Anyone else has any more questions?
So under the new program, you're not limited as to how much of the solar garden you can purchase. So how does that work? Like, say you've purchased it and you get into it and it's like, wait a minute, I would have wanted a little bit more. Is there an option to change?
So we can upsize or downsize subscriptions if there is space available in the project. So, you know, when we're filling up a project with new members, new subscribers, we're essentially allocating each household a certain amount of the solar array. And at a certain point, we're full. And if we're full, we don't have any space to give anybody else anymore. But something that's happened a lot with our existing gardens is, you know, every once in a while, somebody will move out of an eligible area, like, you know, people move out of state or in that program move out of the appropriate counties. And during those situations, we've often asked existing subscribers, does anybody have more energy use? Your energy use has gone up. You want a little bit more capacity. We can allocate that capacity to members. I'm answering your question.
It's just a little more forward-looking question. A lot of this fight for Excel doesn't seem to be about solar, but about who owns the means of production. And as they get less and less ownership, there's going to be a problem of how do we maintain the lobbying partners take a position on, you know, a common sense way of how that would be funded. You know, that equipment is very expensive. Or if you want to repeat what you heard.
So the question, if I got it right, is essentially, if we're successful, if we and others are successful in having more and more third-party owned and ideally cooperatively owned energy, how does the grid get paid for? This is a really important question, and I want to emphasize that it also ties into what is the grid that we need, because so much of what we're paying for in the grid right now is about moving extremely large amounts of power from power plants that are far away into our cities. And that's not necessarily the same type of grid that we need if we are generating more of our power locally in our communities. There's some infrastructure that's the same. You know, the local poles and wires going down your street are pretty much the same. But some of what's being invested in today and what utilities are counting on making a return on is not the same as what we really need for that much more localized energy system of the future. I feel like the question you're asking, which is one that we think about a lot, is probably the question that will be the policy fight in 10 or 20 years. We are thinking a lot about it, and we are, I always got to think about how deep do I dive in these questions. You can think of the grid as a time and space battery. Okay? We are moving energy across distance. We are moving it between different types of energy use, all of that, right? It is not the only way that we can create time and space batteries for energy. And part of the question becomes, is it easier and cheaper to build lots of power far away and move it across long distances when we need it? Or is it easier and cheaper to have a lot of diversification and redundancy at the local level? And there are some models of how that works that are going to need a lot of investment by utilities. And there are some models of how that works that are more investment by people like all of us. And what's the exact balance is the question I don't think any of us can answer. But it's really important that as we go through that process, we're pushing back on the idea that the grid is just a big centralized system that the utilities own and control. It's also all of the stuff we're producing in our communities that effectively is producing energy for our neighbors. And whether or not the policy in the market recognizes that and says that that's valuable, it's valuable. And we gotta be part of the process to claim that value and say we're actually part of producing energy for all of us too. I hope I did that justice, even if it's only the beginning.
Does anyone else have any burning questions?
I have a couple questions. With Excel, you said it affects the 5 previous generation gardens. Are we the only solar cooperative that's affected, or is it affecting all of the previous generation of all cooperatives across the state? That's one question. My second question would be, it's a follow-up, which is Excel's strategy here that if it's only affecting this small subset of gardens, that there won't be enough of a legal stand put up and they can simply kind of run out the clock, because there's no economic incentive really for you to put up a big legal stand against them. Is that the strategy that Excel has on that? And then the final question I'm going to say is on the you had an income, expense, and profit slide that was up that didn't really make sense. And I don't know if that slide can be put back up and some of those numbers explained, but they didn't make sense. Thank you.
Hey, Mahesh. Nice to see you. It's a good question. So think I can answer the first two in one answer, and that would be that it affects all ARR era gardens. So everything that had safe harbor for the rate that they were getting, the ARR rate, from 2014 to the end of 2016. Those gardens, and that is by far the vast majority of gardens in Minnesota. And solar gardens make up most of the solar in Minnesota. So we're talking about something like 600-ish, a little over than that, megawatts worth of gardens are all affected. So as far as co-ops go, we're the only consumer, well, other than these rural electric co-ops, right? But within Excel area, we're the only co-op that we know about here. So it affects all these other developers, these private developers that have gardens, 600 megawatts worth plus. It affects them all. So this was a big deal to everybody. And in fact, we're joining a lawsuit with a bunch of these developers about this. So we're probably taking to appeals court the beginning of the fall is what it looks like at this point. So does that answer both of those offhand?
Yeah, so it's a big resource pool going against Excel.
Huge. Yes. Yep. Can you repeat that? It is a very large resource pool going after Excel, not just our co-op and our gardens, and it affects much more than our 5 gardens. We are a very small percentage of how many gardens it actually affects and how many megawatts it affects in this state.
Okay. First of all, good to see you again, Mahesh. Mahesh is a former board member, so we always appreciate your digging in the details. I have to admit, I don't have the details on this. Charlie was going to follow up afterwards. My best understanding is what we're actually showing here is income and gross profit. That's after cost of goods sold. But Charlie will follow up with you. I think we're going to close out our Q&A and move into our tour. Okay, I'm going to pass it off to Kyle.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We will be heading up to the roof to see the community solar garden. First, we just want to give a huge round of thanks to Bruce in the back, who was instrumental in getting this done. So what we will do is we will follow Bruce through the building, up one nice set of stairs. If someone, I apologize if there are accessibility issues. I'm not sure if there's an elevator. I can ask. There isn't one, so we apologize for that. We'll be following Bruce, and we'll head up. There's going to be a drone taking a picture and a video, which we're super excited about to have some visuals, and we'll have a banner on the ground. So we can start heading to the door. People can leave their things here. There'll be people in the room to watch it and have fun up there.
All right, and this is Sachi. I just chaired my last board meeting because I joined the team. For those of you who are leaving, thank you for coming. It means so much to us to see you here. For those online, thank you so much for joining. It means so much to see you here. We love engaging with our members. I want you all to know how hard this team is working to do good work on your behalf. And we want feedback from you. Please, if you have thoughts, grab one of us, write it on a piece of paper on your table. Audrey is standing by the door to get them on your way out. She's waving the box right now. Or just come talk to any of us. We love getting to work with you. And add us on social if you're not there so we can tweet things. Thank you all.
The 120%. Okay. So if they were to say